Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Royally Stupid. I'm Drew Absher.
I'm local guy. How's everybody doing out there? Hopefully good. I know that the in-season tournaments. I mean, for the Kings, it's done, so it's kind of
Dunzo.
sad. But aside from that, hopefully everybody else is doing well.
Yeah.
How you doing, dude?
I'm okay. Yeah, it's a torrential downpour. We're recording this on Wednesday. I have a show at 7:30 that I'm pretty convinced no one's going to come to now.
Oh, come on.
Dude, rain.
They would brave the rain for you.
Dude, it is the craziest thing how much rain affects
No, it really does.
people's interest in a comedy
Californians specifically.
show. Maybe. I just think that like it's so there's no weather that like rain that makes people just go, no, I'm not going to see comedy now. Like it's really bizarre how much it affects it. So this right before, like this makes me want to stay inside. Like I just want to hang out for the rest of the evening. I've got
Right.
no interest in leaving the house now,
Right.
but I have to. But the audience doesn't, and that's the problem. They're
Right.
not getting paid. To
I mean,
be there.
according to the forecast, this will be over by the time your show starts.
Yeah,
So.
let's hope everyone blow really hard towards the north.
Yeah. Or just make.
Well,
some
you guys will be
sacrifices.
hearing this way later.
Yeah, but if you guys are doing that kind of stuff anyways, and just preparing for the future, just keep us in your thoughts and prayers
Yeah.
as you're making your sacrifices of small.
If
roads
you're
and
being
bugs.
good listeners, you should be thinking about my comedy career always, and you should be knowing that this is going to affect me. Yeah,
Exactly.
dude, I'm doing okay. Yeah, things are fine. It's finals.
Ugh.
I'm just like
Is that this week for you right now, like currently, or
next
is it,
week,
Okay,
but I don't have anything. Just essays that are due.
okay,
So I've got one like 10-page essay that I haven't even started yet, but it's like I'll be alright. You
Dude,
know,
that's-
one of those where you're like, I could do that almost in my sleep.
School is so traumatic, all of it.
Yeah,
I still wake up. in the
you're a
middle of the
comms
night
major.
With yes, I was a comms major.
Okay.
But dude, I still wake up these days in a cold sweat because I had a nightmare about having to do some sort of schoolwork.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, when does this end? Like, when does it ever go away? It doesn't, because I was part of the educational system from preschool all the way through college for 20 years,
Yeah.
and that's that'll just it's always gonna stick with you. It's never gonna go away.
Were you a
Yeah.
good student?
I was a good student probably up until college, honestly.
Yeah.
And I took 6 years to finish and get my bachelor's because of so many major changes, and just I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then fell into probably the right thing.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I started off wanting to be a kinesiology major, and then people would just tell me, dude, this is hell, it sucks, and I didn't listen, and I kept going for a couple of years, and then I found out they were right.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I should probably switch my major, and then I switched to a couple of different science majors, didn't like it, and then eventually the decision to switch to comms literally was based on the fact that it was the quickest way to get out of there.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be getting financial aid.
Yeah.
So I should probably get out of here as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And then it ended up being the right decision. It's not like I can sit here and tell you everything that I learned from communications that benefits me on a day-to-day basis now. But, I have always, it's kind of in the name. Like, comms major, you can probably communicate.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, you're right. I think that like comms is like it's like what is it, like type O positive blood type where everyone can use it or whatever,
Yeah,
whichever
yeah.
one that is.
yeah.
It's weird. One you can't use for anyone, and one you can use.
Yeah,
for
then
all
one
of
you
them.
can use for everybody.
So it might
yeah.
be the worst anecdote I've ever used.
Yeah, maybe. But I knew what you were saying.
Yeah, you guys get it. Yeah, that's I'm kind of at this place right now where it's just like the whole degree feels very transactional to me, and so I've just got like no interest in trying. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm going through right now, writing essays. Were you I know this is maybe not like an entirely unique concept, but I kind of figure that people are either like science math brained or like history English brained. Were you?
History, English. For sure.
Yeah, me too.
100%. Because I have a crazy memory.
Yeah, me too.
Memory of an elephant, and
Yeah.
and that always helped with history, and then but not even like it's not even useful because with math and science you would think that would help. Oh, dude, I couldn't give a shit about an equation or like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I was so bad at chemistry specifically for science. And that's a big one if you wanted to do like exercise science as your major, which was what I was. That's what I was starting out, and then obviously, like, you're gonna have to learn to do math as well. And I said, okay, which one does not require any math or science? And it was comms. So I said, I'll do comms, and it was definitely the correct decision.
Yeah, dude, I could like not be less interested in math. Like it's crazy. I think that maybe it's got something to do with like, I don't know. I don't want to look into it too much, but it is weird. Like I do not like stuff without nuance. Like I don't like in math that you can't arrive to the same thing using a different way, really. You know, that's what like throws me off about it.
Yeah.
I like thinking how I think, you know?
Yeah.
So I always hated when they would be like, yeah, you got the right answer, but you did the problem wrong or whatever.
Right,
Like that would
right.
always just make me feel very defeated.
Yeah,
And I think it made me not
now they're
wanna do
doing
math.
like the Common Core math stuff, which is
Yeah,
I
thanks,
don't-
Bush.
Yeah, I have no idea what the hell that is even about. And
It's pretty sick, dude.
is it?
Yeah, I mean, they're basically just like kids are only allowed to think one way.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
and they do it for everything now.
gotcha.
It's like you can't even have like in history classes, you're not like even like they don't teach kids to have like an opinion about history.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that's what history is.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know,
it already
sa-
happened. I mean, yeah.
This is a basketball podcast.
Yeah.
So to make it basketball terms, like we all have different opinions about how the
Right.
Kings should run their operations. But what they're teaching now is just like, here's what the Kings have done throughout their history.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And like, really, we should be teaching kids to think critically about the past,
Mm-hmm.
and so that they can better form their own opinions about now.
Right.
But yeah,
But instead they're preparing them to just be government drones,
yeah, basically, they're
as-
sheep,
as the
Yeah.
lizard people had intended. They
right?
want-
Yeah, they're
they-
gonna vote for Hillary Clinton and take the vaccine. damn government got the
Oh
kids
my
again, dude.
God, big government
Yeah,
got the kids.
They're turning them gay.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and the frogs too. Turn the frogs gay as well.
But yeah, it is like sad, like as like a history fan.
Yeah,
You know, like you're like,
Kinda
damn.
bummer, yeah.
Yeah, well, like I'm even like just now learning how to write history in college. It's bizarre. Like the teachers telling us, like, yeah, everything they've taught you guys about how to write about history is like totally wrong. And yeah, it's kind of disheartening. You're
Yeah.
like, damn, I'm about to graduate, and they're just like, by the way, you have not been
Yeah.
doing this correct for the last
never mind. Scrap all that.
last
We're gonna
20 something years of your life. Yeah.
Insane, dude.
Anyway, yeah.
Hope you make it out alive though, man. With this whole school
one
stuff,
one more semester, and then I've got one class in the summer.
dude.
So I'm probably gonna walk in spring. The
Rooting
whole
for you.
gang's coming. All the listeners are invited to my graduation.
Yeah,
If you
they,
get your
they
hands-
definitely do not have a ticket limit.
There's no.
for commencement.
There's
so.
none at all. If you get tickets to the show, you're allowed in. Yeah, man, it was kind of a bummer of a week for me for a couple reasons, but mostly I like couldn't watch almost any of the Kings games live. I had to like do rewatches, which makes me feel like Nick Saban. Like I'm just
How
like
so?
I'm just like grinding film at
Well, yeah,
6
I mean,
a.m. You
I
know
mean,
what I
that's
mean?
what I do, and people know that me and my good friend King's Film Room
Yeah, you guys are film
always in the film
nerds.
room.
Yeah.
yeah.
It just
So-
makes me feel like I'm taking it too seriously as a fan. You know what I mean? Like where I'm like rewatching it. I know the results. I already looked at the
Right,
box score and I'm
right.
like, no, I got to see exactly how it went down.
Right. It's kind of what you were talking about. I don't know if this is a direct analogy, but you're talking about how like, oh yeah, like I got the answer. Like, why do I have to do it a certain way?
Yeah.
You know, you knew the result. Why do
Exactly.
you have to rewatch and see all the highlights?
Yes.
Well, it's because you're a sicko. But
Yeah.
we're all generally speaking, all Kings fans are pretty much basketball sickos.
Yeah,
So,
totally. I like the NBA puts out highlights on YouTube where it's just every bucket from
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
Those are helpful.
Yeah.
But they don't show you any of the like bad stuff.
there's that, and then also they don't. As much as I do love how quickly they get those highlights out, it's tough not seeing for me, especially before I found out how to find my own way to clip things. Because people think that I built up my following on Twitter just because I troll. Not entirely untrue. That's a big part of it, and I still do that. I do that more than anything now. Probably, yeah. Like now, I would say now it's probably the main thing that I do on there is just mess around. But
Yeah.
initially a good like I have like crazy amounts of like legitimate like basketball people, national writers and whatnot having like they follow me because they found out about my account through my actual basketball content. So when I was clipping things before I found out how to actually clip them from a computer and using a program, I used to use those YouTube highlights and like kind of clip them and kind of splice them into one clip. But the bummer about those highlights, on top of the fact that they don't show the bad stuff, is they don't show the build up to any of those buckets. So I can't sit there, like, unless I get lucky and I find a clip where they do actually include the action in which that team was running and that action led to this bucket. I really couldn't find, extended clips of certain plays that I would want to highlight. So, like, that's the other downside of them too. But generally speaking, it's pretty convenient. Like, if you want to just watch back a game real quick in 10 to 12 minutes, that's the way to go.
Yep. Yeah. It is they're helpful, especially for watching other teams. That's what I find very helpful.
Yeah.
Like I saw they had one for like the Spurs. I forget who else, and I was like, I do want to watch that video. I saved it for later, actually.
Okay.
Because I was like, I do actually
want to see that. Was it Spurs Pels?
Was that the Pels last game?
That was the Pels. Yeah, that was their last game before they played the Kings on Monday, and that was the game in which that was the first game with CJ and Trey Murphy back.
Yeah, that must have been it because it did have CJ McCollum.
So you were scouting
the thumbnail. Yes, I was retroactively scouting a game where I already kind of knew the scouting report, which is Kings are maybe the definition of putting your hand right above the ground like that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I mean, maybe that's a good place to start. Let's talk. Do you want to start Nuggets game or Pels game?
Yeah, let's do Nuggets game. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, we'll start off on a positive note.
Okay.
Because you've had a bummer of a week, and
Yeah, start positive.
Yeah, let's start there. Yeah.
So what'd you see in the Nuggets game? I don't have it on my brain because the Pelicans loss has been such a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the stat was like Nuggets were 3 of 30 from 3 or something insane like that.
So
and we beat them by 10.
Did not hit a 3-pointer for the first 26 minutes of that game.
Right.
I think. It was a couple of minutes in the third quarter. Well, no, it wasn't even a couple minutes in the third quarter. I just remember tweeting out that up to that point, 26 minutes in the game, they hadn't hit a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
That went much longer than that. I think it was like halfway through the third, somebody finally hit a 3-pointer.
Right.
And you know what? We've seen it with the Kings. The Nuggets were on a second night of a back-to-back that night. Like, the West is already brutal enough. When you have to go, and I would not, of all the teams in the West, the Kings are on the short list of teams that if I was another team, I would not want to play them on the second night of a back.
Totally.
Be hell.
Yeah.
Now, credit to the Nuggets. No Jamal Murray. Aaron Gordon, I think, was kind of on the fence. He ended up playing, but wasn't all that effective. I mean, they kept it close. They made it interesting towards the end. Some of that was self-inflicted errors by the Kings, but I mean that's your defending NBA champion right there. I mean, they're gonna make a run. They're gonna keep themselves in it. They have champion blood, if you will. And Michael Malone's a great coach, as we know. We know that very well around here.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. So they kept it close. They kept it interesting. The Kings definitely could have put that game away sometime in the third. They just didn't.
Yeah.
And then they let the Nuggets kind of hang around, and so they kept it interesting. But I mean, you drop 123 on the defending champs. They've been a pretty good defensive team this year, the Nuggets. So, regardless of whether or not that was on the second night of a back-to-back, I thought it was a great game. I thought you got contributions from everybody. Fox was Fox.
Yep.
Domas, the superior version of 7 foot tall passing white big man. At least that night. I'm just joking. Jokic had like 30 something.
Yeah, Jokic
had like a triple double of like 36, 13, and 11 or whatever, and he's just normalized that now.
Yeah, dude, don't take 3 assists away from him. It's 36, 13, and 14.
Oh yeah, my bad.
On 13 of 23 from the field.
It was unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, but he only was 1 of 4 from 3. So was it really that good of a game?
I guess it wasn't. Yeah, now that you mentioned that part.
Yeah, but Sabonis no slouch, dude. 17, 15, and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Sabonis, and by the way, Fox turned in a 26, 4, and 16 game.
16 assists.
Career high in assists. I mean,
with only one turnover.
Didn't let anyone dime it. Sabonis was only able to get 7 assists. Yeah, I mean, Fox was just one of those games where you're like, this guy's bag is so deep. He doesn't need to be like, this is great. If Fox can take some games off against the defending champs, and just stand at the top of the key, Chris Paul style, you know what I mean? And just dime from the top. I love it. This week, we talked about it before we turned the mics on, but, we're about a quarter of the way through the season now. And starting to really be able to make up our mind about what this Kings team is. Now,
Yeah.
the caveat here is I don't think there's been a single game this season where we've had every single one of our wing players healthy. Sans maybe the first game Trey Lyles came back, but
Yeah.
I'm even thinking maybe Keegan wasn't playing in that one.
Keegan wasn't.
Yeah.
No Keegan, and I don't think Sasha was either because Sasha had a little thumb thing.
Yeah, and I know he's like deeper on the bench, but I think Kessler Edwards has been dealing with stuff throughout the season. And
Yeah, and Duarte.
Duarte's
missed the last couple
and
games with a knee
Trey
thing.
Lyles, obviously, and
Yeah.
so yeah, the guys who kind of seem to be platooning, putting this Kings team together. Like we're really relying on the wing depth to kind of throw Swiss Army knives, depending on what the other team is offering. There's going to be nights where Duarte and Kessler Edwards get more minutes against more offensive. Like maybe one of those guys should have got some minutes on Brandon Ingram or something like that. If we're not in the in-season tournament,
Right.
Mike Brown shortened up the rotation for that.
Right.
But and then with teams that are a little bit smaller, you throw Trey out there, you throw Sasha out there, and try to spread the floor out. Like it's very obvious that the Kings' approach is like we don't need all of it in one player if we have the depth. But when they're not healthy, that's obviously disadvantaged. That being said, it's pretty obvious that the Kings' two biggest flaws right now are defensive help on the wing and being too reliant on three-pointers.
Yeah.
And that's what that Nuggets game was to me. Is like real nice win on the box score, but let me pull it up. Let's just get the numbers here. Let's not dilly-dally. Let's not fool around here. We're journalists after all.
That is true. I am a credentialed media member.
Yeah.
Some people will tell you that is the case. Some people will also tell you that I run King's Film Room, apparently.
Oh, is that true?
People
People think that? I know it's not true.
It's definitely not true, but people think that, yeah. So shout out to the people who still think that I run King's Film Room.
The Kings were 16 of 34 from three for 47%. And the Nuggets were 6 of 25 for 24%. So, yeah, it's like, if that's how we have to beat the defending champs, wins are wins. You're not going to hear me poo-poo it. But one of those things that you definitely raise an eyebrow at. Like, we've outscored them by 30 points on three-pointers and beat them by 10 points. Not preferable, That should also be said that they only ended up shooting like 25 threes. So, maybe they started dumping it off to Jokic a little bit more and getting guys cutting and stuff like that. Anyway, and that kind of runs us into the in-season tournament with the Pelicans, which is, man, the size on the wings is just...
It's become so obvious that is the clear position of need that the Kings have to address.
Yep.
Now, look, Harrison Barnes, great guy, comes from a great family, I'm sure. The pride of Ames, Iowa, right? And we love our Iowans.
A Tar Heel.
Yes, a Tar Heel, but, grew up in Ames. We have two Iowans on the team.
Yes.
Him and Keegan. Great guys. Love them both. But it's time. And the thing is we've had this discussion about Harrison a lot, over the years, especially these last two or three. It's like, if he's not going to be aggressive on offense, and if he's just going to get blown by like a traffic cone on defense, what is his real value?
Yeah.
And I understand that I'm sure he has, you can't even put a price probably on how important he is to a locker room because of his veteran presence and because of, he's an NBA champion for a reason, right? Like he has that on his resume. He has championship pedigree. I get that. But man, oh man, it's time to be honest about it. Like, he is an absolute negative out there on defense. And on nights, like on Monday night against the Pelicans, where he's only going to take 4 shots, come on. He had some nice moments guarding Zion. Zion got walled up on, like, when he played against the Kings on Monday because they were sick and tired of that guy just going through them because the 2 games in New Orleans were not pretty from a defensive standpoint guarding him. But, you still lost the game. And you showed pretty clearly after your hot start that, like, that's where the game kind of turned. Was Jose Alvarado came in with Trey Murphy, and that was kind of that. Those two guys just completely shifted the energy of that game.
Yeah.
And it was it was something ridiculous, like 27-8 or something like that was the run or whatever. That kind of put them ahead, and they just didn't look back after that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they really shat all over themselves. Got off to an incredible start, but then blew the lead in a spectacular fashion at the end of the first quarter. And I wasn't watching it live, but I was watching it sporadically. And when I saw we were up like 15 or something in the first quarter, I was like sick. And then once I got the alert on my phone of what the score was at the end of the first, I was like, oh, well, that's that. Like, there's no way to really respond in a positive way to that.
Right.
When a team has just like, the Pelicans have essentially just put their hand on the back of the Kings' neck for the entire season and just pinched and said, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to.
Literally.
And it's frustrating because, first off, I want to go on record. I will eat my words with this Pel. I really did not think their roster construction, and I have like my caveats. I still think there are some like just like weird, like I almost don't like the stars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the
Yeah,
Pelicans, like BI's awesome, but I don't really think that the three pairings there works that well.
Mm-hmm.
But god damn, man, what depth. We didn't even see Dyson Daniels or Jordan Hawkins.
By the way, Dyson Daniels, I was lucky enough to get what they call lounge access now. So they have 3 VIP lounges, but there's one that's not like full VIP. And shout out to my buddy Ben. He was able to hook that up for me on Monday night.
Nice.
You walk through the tunnels. In order to get there, you do walk by where the players may walk by you. And it was pregame. I got there early before the players before they even went out there for warm-ups.
Yeah.
And I walked by Dyson Daniels. Yeah, man. Like 6'8", 6'9", just a very large human being with just prodigious like length. Like his wingspan's like his arms like down by his knees almost. And it's just like, that guy can't even get off the bench because his team's healthy now. And when he was playing, he was a menace. Absolute menace on defense. Like, dude, it's just, I mean, I'll just list off the names right now. I mean, this is outside of Zion, Brandon Ingram, and CJ McCollum. Herb Jones.
Yep.
Najee Marshall.
Yep.
Trey Murphy.
Yep.
Dyson Daniels. Okay. And then I know he's not a wing, but Jose Alvarado is just a bulldog. Jose Alvarado is a guy that I hope Keon Ellis' career trajectory follows his. It ends up on a standard because he makes such a huge difference on defense. He obviously has that type of potential.
Yeah.
But like Jose Alvarado is an NBA player for sure now. Like the guy came in and he did the little he got Fox with it, man. He hid in the corner in the backcourt.
Grand Theft Alvarado.
Yeah,
dude.
and then he went Grand Theft Alvarado and did the back tip, and then he got the steal, and then like that was one of the things where I'm watching. I'm just like, dude, like it's that kind of stuff that makes this Pelicans team tick. You know, that year when they were like what 36-46 or whatever it was, made the play in, right, and then ended up as the 8th seed because they won 2 games in a row. Like that's the kind of stuff when they were at their peak that season that they were doing. Like they were just literally just bullying teams. They couldn't do it last year. Zion only played like 30 games.
Yeah.
BI, in and out of the lineup with injuries. Same thing with CJ, right? And then now all of a sudden they're all healthy again, and you can just see it. Like you can see the vision. Like that team was, by the way, in the top 3 of the Western Conference for most of the first half of the last season, and then they kind of fell off a cliff because of injuries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and they're still I think that just in like the guys who are having the ball in their hands, I think that they're too streaky, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're legit, man. They're when you have that kind of versatility from that many different guys.
Yeah.
Like Trey Murphy and oh god, I'm blanking on the other.
Herb Jones,
thank you. Those two guys are like, this is how I felt about the Raptors a few years ago, and maybe it's worthwhile to talk about the 2 guys on the Raptors. But it's like every time I watch the Raptors, I'm like, there's like 3 or 4 guys every single year that I'm like, I would love that guy on the Kings. And that's what the Pelicans felt like watching them the other night, where you're like, how about Dyson Daniels for 3 second-rounders or something? Like, cut us a deal. You guys aren't even like really using it, Because, those are the guys who make a big difference, and they made a big difference on Monday night.
Dyson, by the way, pre-draft, I remember when he did an interview with somebody, I forget which outlet or which publication, but he was asked about Sacramento, and he knew the history of the team. Like he was like naming off like the glory years guys and stuff like that. Like, the guy was
That's awesome.
yeah, kid. He definitely in great shape. Like he definitely endeared himself to a lot of Kings fans. Like Kings fans definitely wanted him after that. But
Yeah. He was Halliburton's year, yeah.
I want to say he might have been the year after.
He was the Davion.
the Davion draft. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
can click on it right now.
Which, if I could turn back time.
No, actually, he was 2022. So he was the Keegan year. He was
Yeah.
he was the 8th pick.
Yeah.
Keegan's year. Yeah.
I'm still going with Keegan.
Oh
Believe it or
yeah,
not.
100%. Yeah.
No
but
disrespect, Dyson.
but yeah, I mean, if I had to give I definitely wanted to talk about this guy for sure after watching him play on Monday night. Herb Jones was incredible. If Herb Jones is, he's averaging 12 a game. So his growth as an offensive player is something that I think not a lot of people predicted, because this guy was a second-round draft pick for a reason.
Yeah.
They knew that he was going to be a contributor defensively in some capacity, whether that was in spot minutes or whether you started, or whether you put him in the rotation, right? For him to go 8 of 13 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3,
Yeah.
with 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks, by the way. I mean, that's just like
23 on 13 shots.
Yes, and
bananas.
And the fact that he's averaging 12 a game now is crazy to me, because his rookie year, he did okay enough out there for you to keep him out there. But if you're gonna go offense defense, it's like, yeah, I'm if there was a free throw or like there was a stoppage of play that was happening and it was a late game situation and you knew you were about to get possession back, I'm sure Willie Green was like, okay, I gotta get him off the floor. I need some shooting or some sort of other offense out there, right? Because I can't play this. He was almost, I don't want to say completely unplayable on offense as a rookie, but his shortcomings were more magnified. Last year, struggled a little bit with an injury, but honestly, it may be sort of a blessing in disguise. Dude, I think only got a 4-year, $52 million deal. That's absurd.
Yeah.
You're going to be keeping him under team control for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
On a cheap contract like that. And
feels like that Mikal Bridges contract.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah, and Mikal got, 4 for 90, which like even that seemed a little cheap at the time. But dude, 4 for 52 is absurd. Like, he's way better than $13 million a year, and seems like he's going to keep on growing. And that guy, when he's on offense, and if he's going to give you his same defensive effort every night, what do you even do about that? Like, the Kings were hapless out there against that guy.
Yeah, and really credit, I mean, they were talking about it on the broadcast that, like that their drafting is ridiculous. What they've been able to do as a front office draft wise.
Shout out to David Griffin. Honestly.
Yeah, man.
Doing a good job.
Yeah, they're great. But Kings, well, let me ask you, what do you think about the in-season tournament now that it's played out?
I still really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to. Well, we'll see. I know the final on Saturday is at 5:30, I think, Pacific time, and it's a good chance I will be drunk that entire day. So
nice.
So yeah, just
so
put
maybe
that
you
out
won't
there.
see the
so
final.
I might not. I might have to watch the tape later, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to take that all in.
Yeah.
Inebriated, but I'm excited for it. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, but the same night that the Kings played the Pelicans on Monday, it was the Pacers and the Celtics playing the game on the Eastern Conference side of the bracket.
Yep.
And there was this play where I believe it was Tyrese Halliburton threw it ahead for Aaron Nesmith, and he throws on a dunk that put them up, I think, 8 or 10 with like under a minute to go. So that was basically the dagger. The Pacers bench went nuts. The Pacers bench lost it.
I did see that.
Like, they jumped out of their shoes, and the most excited guys were the end of the bench guys.
Oh, yeah.
Because they just got another 50K. So if you make it to the semifinals, you're guaranteed 100K. They're one step closer to 500K. If they get to the final, they get 200K guaranteed. If you win, obviously, you get 500K. That's a huge deal for those guys. Like,
ginormous.
The two-way guys, the guys on veterans minimums, like, they just made either 10 or 20% of their yearly salary, right then and there. So
it's a big deal for anyone.
That's really a huge deal for anybody. You're absolutely right.
I mean, crazy money.
If you get to the quarterfinals, you get 50K. Right?
Yes.
So shout out, congrats to all the Kings players for getting 50K. The two-way guys, Jalen Slauson, Jordan Ford, Keon, obviously, they got 50. That's a nice chunk of change. But like, so many of those guys, I think it was Wob pointed this out. Like he quote retweeted it, and he was just like, look at the end of bench guys. They just made a huge portion of what they're about to make for the entire season right then and there. They got 100K. Like, that's a huge deal. So
those are the guys diving for loose balls in practice.
Yes, these are the guys
very
that
happy
are
for 'em.
literally out there because the coaching staff just like they're on the roster because the coaching staff thinks that they can make the other guys better during practice.
Yes.
And they're going nuts. And I think we spoke about it before on this podcast. Like Dame Lillard was saying, like, this is why we want to win this thing, is because those guys, this could be life-changing money for those guys. And the Pacers players were acting like it, you know? I think that's the coolest thing about it, is like, on top of the fact that you didn't have to play very many extra games. Like if you get to the final, the two finalists are gonna have to play one extra game. That's it, right? But the price is literally $500,000.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the appropriate amount of stakes. I think it's so cool for the end of bench guys and guys that don't get paid, you know, life-changing money on a game-to-game basis. Like that's so cool for them. And I think that, you know, just seeing some of the stuff that we've seen, we talked about it last episode too, about how guys like fans and guys don't know the rules with the point differential and stuff like that. Like you see guys trying all the way until the final horn goes off. You don't see that in November and December, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's been the coolest thing about it for sure.
Yeah, I think it's like nothing short of brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Like the NBA should definitely take a victory lap on this. It's been a huge success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the point totals. I don't know if we talked about this specifically, but like that Boston game on the last night, they're like, did you see that? They like ran up the score. Oh no, it was against the Bulls. They hacked Andre Drummond with like 5 minutes left in the third quarter or something ridiculous like that. And Billy Donovan was pissed. And Joe Mazzulla like went over and like, you know, got political with him, you know, like this is what I'm doing basically.
Yeah.
And Billy Donovan after the game's like, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know, you know,
Yeah.
I don't really know the answer, but I do know that like I've never cared about a Boston Celtics Chicago Bulls game in November in my life.
I mean, Billy Donovan coaches the same guy, DeMar DeRozan, who did not know about so it's very clear that the Chicago Bulls right now, I mean, they're a whole other separate conversation we could have. They are a mess.
Yeah.
But, like some teams, some guys have come out, some coaches have come out and said, you know, whatever. I mean, like, yeah, they count as regular season games, so we'll play them. But it's very obvious the teams and the coaches and the guys that really, really cared about this treated it as such. Like you could tell how much they cared about it. I mean, I think I'm allowed to say this, but I was told by a good friend of mine, you can probably gather who, that the Kings were very, very well aware of the
12 points.
the 12-point thing.
Yeah.
Against the Warriors.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess we won't talk about that game too much because it was a little while ago because
Yeah.
you know, we recorded the last episode before that game, but they were very well aware. They knew that they had to lose by 11 points or less. If they lost by 12 points or more, you know, that was in the event that Minnesota won that night, and they did, right? So I was told, yeah, man, we came in this morning for shoot around. They made it very, very clear, like these are the scenarios. They knew. So it gives you an idea of how much the Kings coaching staff cared about it. So there you go.
Well, did you hear that they showed like a PowerPoint? Did you hear about that?
I think I did hear about that, yeah.
Yeah, they like showed, apparently Mike Brown and the coaching staff showed guys what they could do with $500,000, but not like
yes, I did hear about that.
Yeah, like and like we're showing them like how much real estate that could buy in like a different town and stuff. So, yeah, I mean it's really been successful. Here's what I would say to the people who like might have an issue with the point running up and stuff like that is maybe this is a time for people to reframe it in their brain. Like we constantly celebrate Mamba mentality. I'm serious. Like hear me out here. This is not I'm not trying to be funny, but I understand it might come off that way.
Right. Okay.
But like we celebrate Mamba mentality, and if you remember that Dream Team or the Redeem Team doc on Netflix.
Yes.
The guys are all talking about Kobe running through Pau on that opening play of the game versus Spain.
Yeah.
And Kobe's telling all of them, I'm about to run through this motherfucker. And it's like Kobe is like okay, I understand that this is like they play basketball and they're probably not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But like Kobe is risking hurting his teammate or pissing off his teammate, like ruining a relationship with the teammate for a gold medal, for pride.
Yeah. Because they didn't get paid for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty badass. I'm all for it. Good for Kobe. I like that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if guys are willing to compromise their good sportsmanship for the sake of $500,000, isn't that also just a different version of like a killer mentality?
Yeah, I think
like,
so.
I don't give a fuck about this, like this stuff we've been taught, like this, like all these guys like supposedly like love the competitiveness, but then they bitch when it like doesn't work. It's
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
just want to it doesn't make any sense to me. It's been maybe the most frustrating part of this is like the guys who are like, no, I don't care. There was someone who said, maybe it was DeRozan, who was like, I don't care if about the thing, like get the fuck out. Like basically like you take the win or whatever.
I think it was him.
Just like, man, see the writing on the wall here.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna make so much cash off this
Yes.
because that shit's getting sold to Amazon immediately.
Oh man,
Amazon's immediately gonna purchase the rights to the in-season tournament, and then they're gonna have Tuesday and Fridays.
Yeah, that is so inevitable. Like if you could put a bet down on it, that's free money.
Yeah,
They're gonna do that.
my other lingering conspiracy theory is this is the NBA's attempt at taking Black Friday. No games on Thursday, but the in-season tournament are games on Friday in November. What's the third? It's the third last week of the month, so it's like an important one. So I think that's their goal. Is
right?
They know
Because the NFL
a lot of
obviously
dominates
Thursday, Thanksgiving,
but
and Thursday.
most people are off Friday. So I bet next year they're going to run like a Christmas Day slate because they build the brackets to be nice matchups. They could go Kings Warriors. They could go the Suns Lakers, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it's been a success. I did want to make one public statement about something I said recently on here. I just wanted to say I like the city jerseys now.
All right. So what changed?
They look less. The blue is like a really nice. It's a calm blue. It feels like really bright when you see it in pictures, but when you see it on the floor, it looks more royal than like vibrant. And I like that. I like the kind of like that. It has like it feels more like a classic throwback jersey than the other ones do. Yeah. And I like that about it. And I still hate the floors. I don't like
Yeah.
I like a couple of the floors, but I like the city jerseys now. And the other thing I was going to say is I was watching the Indiana Pacers game, and Miles Turner has like the weirdest hair in the NBA. Have you ever noticed how weird his hair looks? He's got like a ponytail of dreads,
right?
But they're like, I don't know, finger length. Like they look like. Did you ever watch Futurama?
Yes.
They look like Dr. Zoidberg's mouth.
Yeah.
Dude, I wrote down that they look like the brush that jazz drummers use.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what the hell is wrong? Like I almost want to. We should start maybe the Pacers if they make it to like the semifinals. I mean the finals or this. Like the guys should throw in for Miles Turner extensions. Extend Miles Turner.
Yeah, extend.
Yeah, I just was laughing about his hair.
Yeah, man, Futurama. Great show. And hilarious, but whenever I think about it nowadays, it's the episodes that really fucked me up emotionally are the ones that I think about.
Yeah,
there are some really heavy episodes.
Some really deep ones. The one
really,
with his
really
dog.
great show, though.
The dog.
That's the one that That's the one that I think about the most.
Yeah, that was
there's a couple other ones. There's one where like he daydreams and then he's able to talk to his mom. Philip Fry is able to talk to his mom in his daydream, and then he like has a conversation with her because he was trapped in ice or whatever it was, or trapped in that tube for 3,000 years or whatever it was, and then the other one was God, there's another one. Yeah, but it's back now. You saw that they rebooted it, right?
That.
Yeah, so they rebooted it, and I guess it's back. But the guy that played God, what's the doctor's name?
Oh,
Old Doctor.
Yeah, what's his name?
Yeah,
I forget.
That guy, the voice actor, passed away, so they had to recast.
That
him.
makes sense. Yeah, he sounded old as shit.
Yeah, he was old as hell. So,
I'm gonna look it up real fast. I gotta know.
but yeah, dude, man, what a great show, dude.
Fantastic. Yeah.
That era of animated
Professor Farnsworth.
Farnsworth, like Futurama, because Futurama and Family Guy both kind of owe a lot to Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. Their revivals were because of the fact that they ran those episodes in syndication. And then
I remember them from DVDs. They were like the last show that like me and my friends were buying on DVDs.
Wow.
Yeah. Like we would buy one of my friends, like I would have The Simpsons, one of my friends would have Family Guy, and then one of my friends would have Futurama.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then like
swap.
Yeah, and then the kid who had Futurama, we carpooled with his mom, and she had a DVD player.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would just sit in the back and watch Futurama.
That's awesome.
It was the sickest.
That's so cool.
It was so cool, man. God, what I wouldn't do to go back there.
I know, man. I wish you knew that you were in the good times when they were happening.
Futurama on my way to the 6th grade, watching Futurama in the back of a Honda Pilot.
Yeah.
Couldn't get better.
That's the perfect way to mentally prepare for a day of 6th grade, I think.
Couldn't get better. I wanted to ask you, what do you think realistically, because we've heard that the Kings are going to be looking to upgrade.
Yeah, you would hope.
And it hasn't really been made clear if that means like, are they going to go look for a third star?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are they in the market for a Zach LaVine?
Okay, yeah.
Are they in the market for an OG Anunoby? Are they really in the market for these guys? Because, you know, we said at the top, like, the Kings are small, but, like, every team wants these guys. Every team's going to want Kyle Kuzma. Every team's going to want Jeremy Grant. No, I don't know if every team's going to want Harrison Barnes. You got to hope that they are. Harrison Barnes, it's like his contract for the next 3 years is around like $18 million.
Yeah,
or
so it's $354, so exactly 18 on the dot. No player option, no team option. So yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta hope that some teams will. You know, it seems like Kuzma's the answer right now to me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know about that.
When I say answer, I don't mean he's gonna fix the problems. I mean he is the answer to the question, what are the Kings going to be looking to do?
Yeah. Well, okay, so there are a couple of things that we have to, when it comes to all those guys that you just mentioned, we have to kind of suss out and have to really evaluate from the macro, right? So Jeremy Grant just got a ton of money. That contract is probably not going to look good in a year or two. That's why I was okay with the Harrison Barnes deal.
Yeah.
Because Harrison at 3 for 54 is better than Jeremy Grant at 4 for 160. And better than Kyle Kuzma at 4 at 102. Although 4 for a little above 100 million is not bad for a guy like Kyle Kuzma because he's 28, I think.
Yeah.
It's not bad. But Harrison Barnes is 31, and that's, the age gap there is not that big. So for a guy like Kuzma, who's never really, like, he's not a guy that's known for shooting the ball that well, right? Like, what happens when his game starts regressing a little bit, right? Like, could that contract look kind of the way that some people view Harrison's contract right now? The difference annually is not that much.
Yeah.
But you're talking about one extra year that takes him to his age 32 season, I believe. And then what happens? Like, what if he falls off a cliff at 31, 32, just like Harrison Barnes does, right? Like, as far as production wise. So that's with Kuzma. Grant, I think, is just completely out of the question given the salary.
Yep.
I just don't know if you want to commit that much to a guy that is going to be costing you that much on the books.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there is a good chance that Jeremy Grant is just the guy who leads the tank in Portland. Like,
yeah.
There's a good chance that's why they gave him that contract.
Yeah.
Because we got to tie this money up in someone.
Yeah.
And this guy, like,
but
wants
in
to be here.
theory, you put that money aside. I mean, you and I got to see him up close when he dropped 38 on the Kings. I mean,
you see it.
You see it, man.
That's what I've always thought about Jeremy Grant is like, it kind of stunk that he was so anti-role player.
Yeah.
Because, like,
that's why he left Denver to begin with.
Yeah, it's like he kind of does have that, like, oh shit, this guy can explode, but he's not a reliable scoring option.
Right,
Like,
right.
He's really not like an every night kind of guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, Kuzma feels like the obvious answer for the fact that, we know Monty's went after him before, and for that reason, I'm like having flashbacks of Dante DiVincenzo. It's like what Monty wants, Monty gets. And I don't think the Kings are going to want to forfeit what it would take to get like an OG or a Pascal. And I
Right.
don't think that the plans are for. I think the plan is for Keegan Murray to be the third scoring option sooner rather than
I
later.
do think that he was on that pathway to doing that. It's just he's been dealing with that injury issue.
Totally. Yeah, it's not so much a knock on Keegan. It's just like I think the Kings want to be, did you see that report about Fox turning down the extension?
Yeah.
So if you
Smart, by the way.
Yeah.
As of this moment, he's getting the Supermax.
Yes, yeah, it's hard to imagine him not getting a Supermax. But turning down 2 years at $51 million a year is kind of nutty. And so, you got to keep your money in mind with Fox.
Got to keep the books straight, man.
Yeah, and Kuzma complicates that. So
Yeah.
I wonder if they find an expiring somewhere, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like everything else that's available is kind of like, robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's like you want to go get DeMar DeRozan or something like that because he's another scoring option. It's like the defense. He's not an outside threat really. Like he's a better defender than Barnes, but he's in the same boat as Barnes, whereas his hips are fucking tight.
Yeah.
know,
just not
like,
fluid anymore.
Yeah, he just doesn't move the way he used to, and it's hard to. Now, you want my sneaky one here.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I mean, if Klay Thompson becomes available,
Man.
if Klay Thompson becomes available, do you send first rounds to?
I wouldn't
Golden
send
State?
any. No, I wouldn't send any draft. I mean, at this point, obviously, the Kings would only be able to send pick swaps.
Yeah.
Since that pick is still tied up to Atlanta.
Yep.
Obviously, if they continue on this trajectory, make the playoffs again, that pick gets freed up next offseason, right? I don't even know if I don't even know if I'd send a pick swap their way and I don't even know if the Warriors would even be inclined to do that simply because they're roughly on the same level as the Kings. So like, what would a pick swap do if they're already pretty close?
Yeah. Well, I think they might. I think the Warriors could look to sell off.
Yeah, to just like offload him and
Yeah.
and maybe some other. Here's the thing, man. Klay and the Warriors offense right now. I get why fans are kind of turned on the guy.
Yeah.
I kind of get it because he still is trying to do some of the old Klay self-creation stuff, still trying to take guys off the dribble. I get it. You don't ever want to accept he's 33. I get that you don't ever want to accept that you can't do it anymore, but unlike Steph, he suffered 2 devastating
Really
injuries.
bad ones. Yeah.
And that's going to slow you down a lot sooner than you want to
Yeah.
admit and that you want to accept. And so, dude, Klay Thompson is just a movement shooter in the Kings offense. Oh yeah, sign me up, man.
That's
the guy
what I
he
mean.
can still shoot. So
Yeah,
I mean,
and
that'd be
like
interesting.
he doesn't. I think also, I think that Klay Thompson strikes me as the kind of guy who, like, would probably be like an all NBA guy if he only got to play revenge games. You know what I mean? Like
Game 6s.
yeah, right. Is like he really is like, and reuniting with Mike Brown. Anyway, I was just like, I've just been kind of racking my brain because I don't think the answer is Pascal Siakam. I don't. The guy, I don't know if you've seen that stat, but he's shooting like 9% from 3 this year.
Yeah, no.
He's like 5 of 52.
Yeah,
or
I'm
something.
not. Scorching hot take here. But I would rather not see an offense out there where Sabonis and Pascal Siakam are 5 feet away from one another the entire time.
It's scary. It's scary to think about. And then it's like, this is what I mean is like all of these guys feel like they're bits and pieces of what the Kings need.
Mm-hmm.
But any guy who's going to be what the Kings need exactly is not going to get traded.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, of course I want Mikal Bridges. You know what I mean? Like, of course you want those kinds of guys.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just not going to happen. But, I think that what Monty has done really well is improved on the margins. But now it feels
100%.
like he needs to improve in the big areas.
Exactly.
And I just don't know. He could prove me wrong with creativity, but
Mhm.
it doesn't seem like there's many. You can't. With the position the Kings are in, they can't try to turn a pumpkin into an onion into a pumpkin or
Mhm.
whatever. Like,
Yeah.
this is like, you can't fuck around and hope that, like, that trade they made a couple years ago for Kessler Edwards, getting some bench depth or whatever.
Not
And
even a year ago, actually.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy to think about. Yeah,
The years start running together. I get it.
It's
But yeah, that was
crazy.
last trade.
That was
deadline.
last
That
trade
helped
deadline.
facilitate the KD trade, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Yeah, like getting Kessler Edwards for wing depth like made sense. You're like, okay, like I don't know if this guy's going to be in the rotation, but this does make sense. And you can't do that kind of shit with a starting 2 guard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can't just hope and pray. I don't know, man. I've become increasingly worried after the Houston game. Now, granted, Houston sucks again. I don't know if you've seen their record, but they stink.
Yeah, they don't like playing away from home.
Yeah, they haven't won a game on the road.
Yeah, they don't like playing. They don't like not playing the 2 games in the same city over the course of 3 nights.
Yes, and they should not call people bitches.
Yeah,
That was mean.
yeah, that was just mean by Ime Udoka.
I can't believe he said that to
Yeah.
LeBron James.
And LeBron stands are crazy because they started pulling out game tape from when Ime was a player. And
It's
they
so
started
fucked
clowning
up.
his
Like
ass. And I'm
2007.
oh my god, yeah. And some of those clips included him in a Kings uniform.
Oh, did it? Oof.
Yeah.
I didn't see him.
I agree with you on that, though, on just kind of the overall sentiment, is that the Kings have issues. They know, I'm sure Monty McNair, Wes Wilcox, the rest of the front office know what could remedy those problems. But if you're looking for a one-player fix-it-all type of deal, they're either not out there or they just aren't available. Or if they are, it's going to cost you a lot, obviously, right? So,
Yeah.
of all the guys that you mentioned, for me, and I'm not a scoops guy. I'm not like over here, trying to like break news or like give you scoops or anything like that. But I did hear from a source. God, it sounds so. I can't even keep a straight face when I say that.
It's okay.
So
you have sources.
But they were legit. Yeah, they were. I mean, I think it's known by now in NBA circles that the Kings have been on OG. They have been in on OG before.
Yeah.
Right? And that there's, from what I heard at one point, that he did want to be here. Like, he wouldn't mind coming here. The thing, though, is you would have to give up a lot if Masai Ujiri was willing to trade him.
Yeah.
Right? And then the other thing is he's technically a free agent because he has a player option for next year. He's going to opt out.
Of course.
He's getting underpaid severely right now for how good he is, right? So that's the risk you run. So on one hand, you got to look at it this way. That's the risk you run if you trade for the guy, because if you give up a decent amount of assets, then you might just be renting the guy. And if you don't win a championship, it's kind of tough because you lost some assets for nothing, essentially. On the other hand, could you get him for less than what you normally would have to give up because he would essentially be looked at as a rental, like potentially, right? He could,
and he's not re-signing in Toronto.
Yeah, no. And then the other thing about Masai is, like, I don't know, man. Ever since they won the title, he's been kind of weird. And I think the weirdest thing that he's done up to this point is, like, why have you been holding guys like Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby hostage when you could have gotten a nice return for any of those 3 guys at the last trade deadline?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's so weird.
Yeah, and he really does at this point, like you just said, like, will he even trade him is like, what a weird question to be asking. Like, there's almost no doubt with how Toronto is looking right now. Having everyone be a wing except for an extremely small point guard didn't work.
Yeah.
I loved it as an experiment.
Yep.
We gotta tear this down.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, no, I really could see a situation where his asking price is so high that he just doesn't get rid of the asset and loses it for nothing, which is weird because, like, we hail him as like a basketball, genius.
Yeah. I mean, look, he made, when he left Denver, there were people there saying, damn, that's a big loss. And then it looked even worse on Denver letting him go, or just him leaving Denver when they won the title in 2019, right?
Yeah.
Because he built that. He really did. But now, hindsight being 2020, you look at it and you're just like, did he kind of just luck into the fact that Kawhi was not trying to be in San Antonio anymore and just struck at the perfect time? Because the moves outside of that were kind of, I mean, drafting Pascal, huge, right? Giving, look, Fred VanVleet is like the ultimate undrafted player bag getter in NBA history. The guy just got 140 million.
Yeah.
And before that, got an $80 million deal from Masai. He obviously was that's great scouting, right? Great player development for both him and Siakam, and then OG as well, right? So, like, those guys, he did build that up. And I think at a certain point with those types of cores, you got to accept that it's time to move on from them, right? And he just hasn't. And that's why it's just been kind of odd. And I don't think that gets rid of the, oh, he's a basketball genius label completely. But man, I mean, after that title, he's just made weird decision after weird decision.
Yeah.
And the weirdest decision of them all was to just hang on to those guys at the last trade deadline, because you really could have hit a hard reset last trade deadline. And, you know, the trade deadline tax is a real thing. You can definitely get a lot more for certain guys, either because of their contract situations or because teams are just hungry to make a run in the playoffs. Kind of curious decision to hang on to all of them. And then he just lost Fred VanVleet already this offseason for nothing, right?
Yeah.
And it's probably about to happen with OG and Pascal.
Yep. Yeah, and the Raptors are also one of those teams where you're like, I don't even know if, like, it feels like when people trade with them, they get hosed for the most part. I mean, that Kyle Lowry trade ended up kind of being a wash, but I thought I liked Precious Achiuwa.
I like him too. I still like him.
And yeah, I thought that was going to be like a big mistake, and it didn't turn out to be. But like even at that time, I was like, oh no, they like, you know, they like went into the snake's den here, you know. And like that's I don't know. The other guy who comes to mind, and people are not going to like this, but is Dylan Brooks available? I'm serious.
Obviously,
man.
won't be available until I think it was
December 15th.
Right, so a week here. I know people are not gonna like that you bring that up, but
I know, and I don't really like that I bring it up,
and I don't like that you're bringing it up either, and I don't like that I'm gonna kind of agree with you on this, but he's
kind of it. Like he kind of, you know how you can like player search in 2K.
Yeah,
you know, it's like if you typed in what the Kings needed, it's like Dylan Brooks and Jason Tatum were kind of the guys.
Yeah,
you know? It's like,
and only one of those guys is available.
Yeah,
or could be available. So yeah,
unless you know Fox, Sabonis, and picks for Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
call it in, Monty.
Oh yeah, let's go. Let's do it, man. I'm sure that should go over well with fans.
Yeah, the last guy was Chris Middleton. What do you think about Middleton? It's like a $35 million 1-year deal.
Yeah, he opted in. He would have been a fool not to opt in.
Yeah, he's just like another guy that I'm like, I could see the Bucks being willing to like move him for Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter, and then you know really kind of building around Dame and Giannis instead of having like a third guy who, when he gets involved in the action, it feels a little bit clunkier. That was all I was thinking.
By the way, Chris Middleton, didn't know this until just now.
Yeah.
He and I share the same birthday.
Oh, nice. Happy birthday to you both.
He's 16 years younger than I am. So, yeah. So, I mean, 16 years younger than I am, 1 year older than Harrison Barnes, though.
Yeah, see.
And he has... That's the thing about Harrison Barnes is he's so durable.
Yeah,
and
he really is. They
say availability is the best ability.
It's tough to argue.
Sometimes I argue that with Harrison Barnes,
right?
But
sometimes you're like, sometimes an ability is the best ability.
that is that's a fair way to phrase it too. And sometimes you wonder if he has any of that left.
Yeah,
but he's always available. That's the thing. Is like, and I think that's other than him being a great family man from Ames, Iowa, and just like the nicest guy ever, you know, class act. He's just always available, dude. And I think that internally, as an NBA organization, I'm sure that's appreciated, you know, more than us outsiders could ever understand.
Yeah, the Harrison Barnes thing, it's gonna, if he gets traded, it is gonna be one. I was thinking about it yesterday, actually, where I was like, I'm not really going to appreciate what Harrison Barnes was here until he's gone. Like, he really came, like, he was like, remember Harrison Barnes as an addition was like, the Kings are making a run for it. And then it turned into one playoff appearance for him. Like, I do really appreciate his professionalism.
Yeah.
And good for him. He got paid by us, and that was nice. But
so many people that year, 2018, 2019, when that trade was made, I was definitely one of them, given the play style of that team and everything. I was like, dude, it's just going to backfire. And it kind of did.
It did, yeah.
Because he's, especially during that time in the NBA, where you could still kind of get away with ISOing players a lot. I mean, that was the way that the guy played.
Yep.
He just give him the ball, back to the basket, right? And one thing about Dave Yeager that I knew was, like, if he likes a guy enough, And if he knows that he needs to get him, some touches in order to get him going, like he will do that, because the year before the Kings got up and down in 2018, 2019, who is he feeding the ball into the post for every single game? Zach Randolph.
Yeah.
So if he knows that there's a chance that Harrison Barnes might need that as part of his shot diet, he will give him that, and he did, to a detriment. And then, and also, I mean, when your literal game plan is to just run, teams are going to figure that out. The Kings were not good in the half court that season. So yeah, it was a combination of things as to why they kind of fell apart after the All-Star break. But that trade was viewed as, we're all in, baby.
Yeah,
let's go.
Like the Kings are finally adding a wing.
And
then they need a small forward.
And then it kind of hampered them.
Yep.
That half season hampered them
the following season
for sure.
Yeah.
After they gave him $85 million for an extension. Which, again, fine, because there's probably 11 good small forwards in the league, so you're gonna have to pay some of them.
Yep.
He's certainly in that top 12 or 13, or was at that time. So I understood all the moves. I understood giving him all this money. I still understand giving him the 3 for 54 this past offseason. It's just, yeah, man. Like,
it's time.
It's time. Like, I understand it all. I understand the rationale of all those moves. Trading for him initially, giving him that first extension, giving him the second extension, but it's just time. And that's kind of the riddle that Monte McNair and his team they're gonna have to solve that, because it's like, yes, there are options out there, but how gettable are they? And if they are gettable, how much are we willing to give up?
Yeah.
And Monte always uses that word, but not an actual word, optionality, right? He wants to have flexibility for the short term, for the long term, all that stuff. They're already kind of hamstrung because that first round pick is tied up.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper into that cupboard and maybe give up some key pieces to your rotation if you want a guy back. And is it worth it? And then also you got, what's the opportunity cost? Like, what if there were other moves out there that could have been had for cheaper? Who knows, man? That's why I don't.
You don't speculate.
I try not to speculate, but also I would just not want to be an executive for a pro sports team. The pressure and just like all the machinations that you have to work out in your mind.
Yeah,
dude, that can never be me. And that's why, his first 2.5 years here, Monty was he was getting reamed every single day by people saying, "Oh, you need to make this move happen. You got to do something."
He's not doing anything.
And then when he did the thing, they were like, "No, that's not that thing. That's not what we wanted."
We said trade this guy for this guy.
Yeah,
and you didn't do that.
Why didn't you convince Indiana at the time that De'Aaron Fox was a way better option at $35 million annually than a guy on a rookie contract?
Yeah.
You idiot. Yeah.
He should have just tried harder.
He should have just said, "Come on, guys. Come on."
But don't trade for Ben Simmons either, you son of a bitch. Also, don't do the other thing you're rumored to be doing.
Yeah.
It's just, people are silly geese.
Yeah, it's wild, and that's why
it is like the most stressful job, because it's like it's really the only job where no matter what you do, like Vlade Divac will go down as the guy who did not draft Luka Doncic. That's just the legacy.
Yeah.
No matter what he did. And
by the
way,
saw him in the VIP lounge, by the way. Guys really embracing the ambassador role.
That's awesome. Good. I saw people on Reddit were booing it that they hired him as an ambassador. I'm like, fuck you guys. Have some goddamn respect for a legend. Anyway. Man, I think I'm a little bit worried going into the trade deadline, because it feels like the Kings want to do something big. I'm not sure if they're actually going to do it though.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to wait and see, because we do have to wait until December 15th until guys
until everybody's
really
available.
Traded.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we'll talk to you guys next week. Well, let's do some plugs real fast. Drew, where can people check you out at, dude?
JRU.e on Instagram and on Threads, and then that local guy on Twitter. The O, of course, is a 0.
Of course.
And man, that's about it for me.
You can grab me on Instagram at Drew Apsher is dumb. That's really all. Don't follow me. If you follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on Threads or something. I'm starting to thread more.
No, that's good. That's good. That website's growing, man. The app's growing. It finally expanded over to Europe, or is about to.
Is it?
So it's gonna get a lot more active users that are trying to get off the Elon app.
Yeah.
So
I like what Elon Musk is doing. Let me go on the record as I appreciate a business owner whose strategy is, let me see if I can light it on fire. I like
yeah,
that.
to an extent, I respect that.
It's the coolest thing to do if you're a business
Yeah,
owner.
yeah. I feel like why not just fuck the whole shit up?
I don't know if I had $44 billion if I would do anything differently. Like,
Yeah.
I think I would have made and that's endearing to me.
Yeah. And like, don't.
If nothing else, I find it relatable.
And you made a decision that you and you decided to go that route with it. Don't regret it, because dwelling on the past is just going to eat away at you. Like, why are you worried about something that already happened?
Yeah.
Just keep that in the rearview mirror.
Yep,
You know, like,
exactly.
That's what you need to focus on, is what's ahead of you, not
Yeah.
what's behind you.
Yep.
So, you know, even though you've just completely just bombed the shit out of an app that was working just fine before you got there, you know.
Well, I mean, there were issues with Twitter, but none of them were what he was trying to fix.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
yeah, now I got bots with blue check marks telling me that I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, this imagine saying that sentence in 2016.
Yeah, it's crazy how much more racist stuff I see on there. I was
it's
like, I didn't know they were for real that was going to happen. I was going to say we don't have any sponsors for this podcast. I have made it clear on here that a cannabis sponsor would be appreciated, but any other sponsors, I want to say, go fuck yourself.
Yes, 100%. And then
Go fuck yourself.
And
Did
then
I
last
make that
thing,
clear?
last thing, I told everybody to come burn trash with us after the Warriors game. If the Kings won, the Kings won.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody who showed up on the turf in front.
That was fun.
We burned trash, and we also, since there's turf out there, you know, I mean, the automatic thing that I, you know, as an American, red-blooded American, I think of when I see turf is I want to run some routes and work on press coverage.
Sure.
So we were out there running drills out there. You know,
Did you see
and-
me in the Oklahoma drill?
Yes, I saw you
I
in
was
Oklahoma.
cleaning
Dude,
people
you put that 12-year-old kid through the freaking concrete, man. That kid.
He should have put the pads on,
Yeah,
dude. I
man.
told him to.
Yeah, he shouldn't have just. He was soaked. That kid, honestly, man, he was a cocky piece of shit. So he deserved it. But yeah, man, that was a lot of fun on
Yeah.
that final group tournament game. That was cool.
Definitely. Well, we're definitely going to win the in-season tournament next year. There's almost
100%.
no doubt about it.
100%.
I would say bet your next rent check on it right now if the books are open.
Yeah, if you're an idiot, you're not putting money on it.
Totally. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good
Bye.
one. Later.